Ta umetnina je starejša, tudi večja pravzaprav. Avtor knjige, ki je pred nami, Kocjanske jame med letoma 1920-1940, je Britanec Trevor Shaw, ki je marca dopolnil 90 let in je pravzaprav reden avtor Založbe ZRC, zato ga z velikim veseljem pozdravljam tokrat spet za to mizo in prosim za kratko predstavitev, ki bo tokrat v angleščini, upam, da, oziroma prepričan sem, da vam ne bo delala težav. Please, Trevor.
From the title of that book, the dates of covering 1920 to 1940, clearly that is the period when Slovene citizens from Postojna to the sea changed from being Austrians to being Italians. But that's not the reason why it was chosen. There's a far more fundamental reason. If the cave could speak, and I think it has occasionally spoken to me, it was very happy with the Austrians because they were exploring it from 1884 to 1913, and very successfully. But they'd really done it all, and the cave felt that a different approach was wanted, and that's by, thanks to the war, they got. The policy changed from exploring, where there was very little to do, to encouraging tourism. Tourists had been there before. If you read the Baedeker guides, they'd gone far, invited to go much further than they were allowed to do now. But the policy was to make it easier, approach easier, paths better, all the things like bridges which had decayed during the war to be replaced. But it all costs money. And of course, you need the changes, the expensive changes, to get the tourists, and you need the tourists to get the money. So there was another problem. Naturally, the law changed. The relationship between the landowner, Divača, and the cave was in Austrian law. It didn't exist anymore. What did they do? It was solved, but it was one of the reasons why it took 5 years after the war for the cave to be officially opened again. Now, the process of improving things was all decided at meetings, it was laid down, it was published. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. And at least 3 years ago, I found that lots of things they have done. They said they would. The new tunnel the tourists today go in at. But other things weren't done. Did they just forget or what? But fortunately, there's much more than the printed word. The archives of the Austrian town of Trieste are still there in Trieste, and the archives of this Italian period are still there. I have been fortunate to know their archivist and historian, who's nearly as old as me, for many years, and these are 3 examples of excitement in writing, and perhaps excitement when you read it. We are going to build a vertical elevator to take us down to the cave. Didn't happen, but they did do a feasibility study. So we have a drawing of it, we know its size, we know the material of the roof of the cubicle, we know the speed at which it went, we know the colour. Another example, we are going in the 30s to put electric lighting in. They couldn't, because the reason for all these was attached to the plans was the funding, the cost. So that gives the reason why not. Electric lighting, we do know the size of the cables even, but the more interesting thing, where did it come from, where were the junction boxes? They were in the main cave entrance with leading in and also leading to the right to the other cave. A further example, as in Grotta Gigante, there is that Foucault pendulum where the bob stays still if the earth tremors. And that was planned, and we know exactly how it was going to be hung over the side of the big dolly. That's enough of, and it's most of what I'm going to say. That's perhaps just over half the book, this, what they did and how and why, and the exciting bits. One, perhaps extra to that, that it was written down that the cave was being explored and surveyed. Nobody could find the survey, but on the 18th of July, 2 years ago, I had a very exciting email, exciting email, saying we've found it. It was nearly a metre by a metre. Now, after that bit, first half, there were several special subject chapters. I'll mention two. In 1921 and 1922, the Austrians came quite legally, because the consul in Munich had arranged it, to explore and do some surveying there. One of the family was doing his engineering PhD at München. His brother was an excellent photographer, for which you will be grateful if you read the book. Finally, one other chapter started off by one single line in a 1934 guidebook. There was a fatal fall in the cave. That's it. The French writer on caves and explorer himself, Norbert Casteret, said the same thing. One line. In French. It was published also in German, in English translation, and even in American. But that's all the world knew. That was all that Casteret knew. I mentioned my friend of 30 years, the archivist. I said, help! And within a week, I had the newspaper cuttings. And those newspaper cuttings are printed in facsimile as well as in translation. That's it. Voilà.